Shalom Chaverim. Today, Parashat Vayikra. Actually, congratulations to us. We finished the book of Exodus, the book of Shmot, and we're starting the book of Vayikra, the book of Leviticus, which is a book that they don't really teach in elementary schools in Israel because it doesn't have much story to it. It's a lot of ritual and sacrifices and handling around the tabernacle. So on the surface, not a fascinating book, but of course, like anything regarding to Torah, when you dive deeper, it's really, really profound. So here we go, the book of Vayikra, Parashat Vayikra. And today we're going to do it with the help of some Mishnah and with an essay from 1931 that was written by George Orwell. I'm going to start by reading the first paragraph of Orwell's essay. It was in Burma, a sudden morning of the rains. A sickly light, like yellow tinfoil, was slanting over the high walls into the jail yard. We were waiting outside the condemned cells, a row of sheds fronted with double bars, like small animal cages. Each cell measured about 10 feet by 10 and was quite bare except for a plank bed and a pot of drinking water. In some of them, brown, silent men were squatting at the inner bars, with their blankets draped around them. These were the condemned men, due to be hanged within the next week or two. So this is how this essay begins. It is an essay that is called a hanging, and it was, as said, first published in 1931, and here he describes the execution of a prisoner in Burma, which is today's Myanmar, and that he witnessed during his service in the British Imperial Police, where he was stationed between 1922 and 1927. And this is a very, very beautifully written essay that really gives a powerful account of witnessing an execution. And so I want to talk about capital punishment today and really connect it to a portion. So before we can even start, what does Jewish tradition have to say about capital punishment? What is our approach to capital punishment? So the Torah allows it in certain cases. And famously, we have the Genesis, Shofech dam ha'adam, ba'adam damo yishafech, which translates to whoever sheds human blood, by human shall his blood be shed, right? So it does allow it. However, our sages, which, as we spoke about several times on this channel, Judaism, if you can say that is practiced today, is according to a rabbinic interpretation of the Torah and not directly according to the Torah. So our sages really, they did not want to contradict the Torah, so they did not ban capital punishment in their law altogether, but they made it so severely hard to do. They limited it so severely that they made it almost impossible. So to just give you an example, so for a death sentence to be carried out, 2 eyewitnesses must see the act directly. Okay? Now the witnesses, not just they have to see the act directly, they must warn the perpetrator immediately before the crime. Okay? And the perpetrator should verbally acknowledge their warning, and then, in spite of their warning, proceed with the act that they are committing. And even then, the 2 witnesses have to agree perfectly on every detail of their account. So as you can see, it's really basically taking capital punishment out of the question with this limitation. I'll give you another example that it's really written very clearly coming from the Mishnah, and this is Mishnah Masachet Makot, and it is said, סנהדרין נוהגת בארץ ובחוץ לארץ, סנהדרין ההורגת אחד בשבוע נקראת חבלנית או חבלנית, רבי אלעזר בן עזריה אומר, 1 ל-70 שנה. רבי טרפון ורבי עקיבא אומרים, אילו היינו בסנהדרין, לא נהרג אדם מעולם. All right, what does that mean? And this is really clear. So, translating a Sanhedrin, by the way, right, the court of wise, the 70 wise people. So, so it said, a Sanhedrin that executes once in 7 years is characterized as destructive. All right? So then Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah says, once in 70 years. All right? So if one person is executed in 70 years, it's destructive. And then Rabbi Tarfon and Rabbi Akiva say, if we had been of the Sanhedrin, no person would have ever been executed. So there you have it, right? The Jewish approach, if you will, to capital punishment. It's also interesting here to mention that the modern state of Israel only executed one person in its entire history, and that was Adolf Eichmann, who basically was the orchestrator of the transportation to death of about 1.5 million men, women, and children. And even for him, the only person that the state of Israel executed, even for him, there was a really, really, big debate in Israel about whether to carry that punishment, even for him. And the reason why I focus on capital punishment today is because of a very interesting verse in our portion, Vayikra. So as said, the first portion in Vayikra, basically specifies all the different types of offerings that can be made in the tabernacle. And so, for example, what the offerings are there for giving thanks? Are there for sin? Are there for... So the different types, and then what exactly should be offered in any case, in each and every case. And then there's restrictions, and there's exceptions, and so it's really a lot of details and instructions for the offering. And there is one very curious offering that, kind of like sparked midrashim and interpretations. And that has something that has to do with the sin offering. So it basically says, for the sin offering, you should take this animal and that animal and sacrifice it in this and that way. And it continues, and if you cannot acquire those certain animals, you can acquire birds instead. And then it continues and says, and now I'm going to directly read the quote, the verse, ואם לא תשיג ידו לשתי תורים או לשני בני יונה, והביא את קורבנו אשר חטא עשירית האיפה, סולת לחטאת, לא ישים עליה שמן ולא ייתן עליה לבונה כי חטאת היא. What does it mean? It means, and if the person cannot even get the birds, right? He can bring an offering that is in the amount of 1/10 of an ephah, which is basically a small measurement of fine flour that has no oil and no frankincense, which is basically sort of sap that comes from a bark of a tree that when you put it in, it smells. It makes a really, really big smell. So at this point, you may be wondering, wait, what does that have to do with anything? All right, so I'll explain. So the midrashim, there are several midrashim that are basically explain what does it mean when you sacrifice something, a solet, which is fine flour, with oil and with frankincense. What do the oil and the frankincense symbolize? Okay, so here is, I'm quoting directly from Midrash Vayikra Rabbah. So it says, the Holy One, blessed be He, said to him, my son, why did you not mix your actions with the words of Torah, as oil is nothing other than Torah, and oil is nothing other than good deeds. So we see that the Midrash says that what the oil symbolizes, when someone drenched flowers in oil to offer that means that they at least had good deeds. That's what it symbolizes, and important. Now, what does the frankincense mean? So Midrash Bamidbar Rabbah would say, the hill of frankincense, this represents the matriarchs. So basically, that symbolized the merit that one has due to our forefathers and foremothers and their actions. So what would it mean to offer something that has neither? It means that the person that sacrifices it has no good deeds and no merit. Other midrashim, and this is really, really interesting, say that, and those of you who may remember, back with Abraham's covenant that is known as Brit Ben HaBetarim, which is basically the covenant that was made in a dream with different parts of animals, between different parts of animals. A lot of midrashim are saying there that at that moment, Abraham received all of the instructions for the offerings that are appearing in our portion in Vayikra. That all of those parts were symbolizing the different types of offerings that would be available. But then the Midrashim says that there was one more offering that was extended. One more offering that they argue whether Abraham knew it or not. And that was the tenth of the Ephah offering. The one offering that is extended to those with no merit and no good deeds. And this is so powerful. And I want to read to you from Shem Shmuel, and I brought this commentary a lot in this channel. It's a Rabbi Shmuel Bornstein, beautiful commentary. Look what he says about the tenth of the Ephah, about that extension, right? He says, even without tshuva, God extends a special gift to every Jew. This gift is an inherent godliness, which is always present within each of us and enables us to receive divine chesed regardless of any other factors. Thus, when we sin, we are always able to benefit from God's beneficence irrespective of our current mindset. This is the extra atonement which God gives to each of us. So to me, this is the humanistic approach that to me this explains why in the core of our tradition there is no room for capital punishment, because our tradition is hopeful. Our tradition says that even when someone has zero to show for, really, no good deeds and what is no good deeds and no merit, the most horrendous crime you can think about, even then, there's that extra atonement that was extended. That's 10 of the Ephah that reserved even to them just by the fact that they are human. And that hope is something that I find so beautiful. So I wanted to end with another paragraph from Orwell's essay, which was to me the most heartbreaking and moving. And that is the moment when he realized what is wrong with capital punishment. And it was a small moment where he watched the prisoner led to the gallows by the two wardens. And as the prisoner was walking, he suddenly stepped aside a little to avoid stepping in a puddle. And Orwell writes, "It is curious, but until that moment, I had never realized what it meant to destroy a healthy conscience man. When I saw the prisoner step aside to avoid the puddle, I saw the mystery, the unspeakable wrongness of cutting a life short when it is at full tide. The man was not dying. He was alive, just as we are alive." Shabbat Shalom.